Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you'll find today's lesson is a little simpler than the one we looked at yesterday. I know it can be challenging to make those conversions, especially if the unit fractions aren't something that you're used to dealing with or if you're just not comfortable with them. Anyhow, today, to close out Chapter 9, and then we'll move into Chapter 10, and then both of those will be rolled together for the quiz. But to close out Chapter 9, we're going to be looking at temperature. It's really just two formulas. Because there are two ways to measure temperature. In the metric system, and we talked about this before, but I'm talking to you, to myself all day long, sorry. I've talked to you before about temperature. In the metric system, it's measured in degrees Celsius. Oops. In degrees Celsius. Okay, so degrees Celsius with the little symbol here. And then if we're measuring in our standard or English or US customary system, lots of ways to say that, but here in the United States, we measure temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit. Okay, so the degrees F, the little symbol there, is for degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so just so you can kind of wrap your brain around what some of these temperatures will look like, some typical temperatures that we see, how they might transfer in degrees Celsius. 0 degrees Fahrenheit, that's cold. Excuse me. That is really cold, below freezing. Maybe you're in Alaska if you're experiencing 0 degrees Fahrenheit, or definitely not in Arizona. So this 0 degrees Fahrenheit is extremely cold. Maybe a cold winter day somewhere, but probably not here, not in Phoenix. So if it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which we know would be really cold, you're at negative 18 degrees Celsius. So those two are about equivalent. 32 degrees Fahrenheit is still pretty cold, cold enough, in fact, for water to freeze. So 0 degrees Celsius is about the same as 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is the temperature at which water freezes. That's kind of a good one to know. 50 degrees Fahrenheit, that would be probably a cold day in Phoenix. So maybe a cold day in Phoenix. So a cold day in Phoenix, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to be about 10 degrees Celsius somewhere else. 68 degrees Fahrenheit, I would say that's probably like a mild spring day here. It's probably still a little chilly for us, but it's mild. So a mild spring day in Phoenix. Okay, about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to be equivalent to about 20 degrees Celsius. 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, if you didn't know, that is a normal body temperature. Normal body temperature. If your temperature goes up above 98.6 degrees, you're said to have a fever. So normal body temperature measured anywhere else, they'd say, oh, that's 37 degrees Celsius. Now, 212 degrees Fahrenheit seems kind of random, but when you look at the 100 degrees Celsius mark, this is the temperature at which water boils. So water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, which is about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And then 350 degrees, I don't know, maybe a typical temperature for baking. So a common temp for baking. So common temp for baking, 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius, okay? So just to kind of wrap your brain around some of those comparisons. Now, if we wanted to specifically to convert any degrees Fahrenheit to a temperature in Celsius or vice versa, we actually have some formulas to do so. So if we're going to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to use the first formula. If we want to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, the second formula. And this is pretty... it's using a formula pretty standard. It's just, for whatever reason, I will see people use the wrong formula. So looking at example 1, we want to convert from 115 degrees Fahrenheit to a temperature in Celsius. So if we want to find a Celsius temperature, we have to use the Celsius equals formula. So it's going to equal 5/9 times, in parentheses, the temperature Fahrenheit we know is 115 degrees. Oops, didn't need to close that. And then we want to subtract 32. Subtract 32. And now it's a matter of entering that into your calculator. And let's hope I do this correctly. Unlike somehow number 3 on yesterday's notes, I input incorrectly, but 5/9. And then we want in the parentheses 115 minus 32, and there it is, 46.1 degrees. So this was technically exactly 46.1 repeating. Let me just make sure. Now if you wanted to just say this is about and cut off the repeating part of the decimal, let's just say 46.1 degrees Celsius. I would take either one of those answers. I think it'd be fine. Just to make it approximate if you're going to round it and cut off the rest of those ones. Okay? So 115 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to approximately 46.1 degrees Celsius. And next one, we're looking at 80 degrees Celsius. We want to know approximately how much that is in Fahrenheit. So we're trying to find a Fahrenheit temperature. That means we're going to use the Fahrenheit equals formula. And the Fahrenheit is going to equal 9/5 times, for Celsius, we're going to plug in 80 degrees, and then plus 32. And notice here, in the Fahrenheit equals formula, there's no parentheses, and in the Celsius equals, there are parentheses. Definitely makes a difference when you're inputting, so be careful with that. All right, here, let's go to our calculator. So we're inputting, let me move my calculator if I can, 9/5, so 9 divided by 5, and then I'm multiplying that by 80, and then afterward I want to add the 32, so that is 176 degrees. No decimal, so 176 degrees Fahrenheit. So 80 degrees Celsius is about 176 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? So that is it. That is all we got to be able to do today, is convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit or vice versa. So we're just going to practice a couple more times, and now my calculator is going to go all over the place. All right, so a few more times. The temperature, suppose the temperature to bake cupcakes is 450 degrees. I think you're going to burn your cupcakes at that temperature, but what is the equivalent temperature in degrees Celsius? So again, we're trying to find the temperature in Celsius. If the Celsius is the question, right, we're going to use the C equals formula. And the C equals formula is, I should probably have written that down, 5/9. On my calculator, the 5/9. And then it's the Fahrenheit temperature, which is 450 degrees, and then minus 32. And then let's go to the calculator to not screw this up. We have 5 divided by 9, and then afterward, in parentheses, 450 minus the 32. And it's about 232.2 repeating. So C is approximately 232.2 degrees Celsius. So if you're baking cupcakes at about 450 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to be about 232.2 degrees Celsius. Okay? Temperature outside is 28 degrees Celsius. Well, what does that really mean for us? I don't really have a concept still of 28 degrees Celsius, so let's convert it. Now again, we're looking for a temperature in Fahrenheit. So we're going to use the F equals formula. So we have 9/5 times our Celsius temperature, and then we want to, add, oh, that's the opposite of the one, add the 32 degrees. So our Fahrenheit temperature is going to be, let's input it here, 9/5 times 28, and then a plus 30, not 332, 32, so 82.4. So this is exactly 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a nice day here in Phoenix. Okay, one more time, going from 82 degrees. Oh well, we just this is silly. We just figured out 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit was a result of 28 degrees, plugging in 28 degrees Celsius. So we are looking for an answer that's going to be pretty close to 28 degrees. So let's just make sure we can use the formula. So again, temperature Celsius. We're looking for a temperature in Celsius. Use the C equals formula. So it's 5/9, and then we're going to plug in the 82, subtract the 32, and see what we get. I should have left that. Here, let me undo. Let me just take out the 450, put in the 82, and there it is, 27.7 repeating, so about 27.8. So about 27.8 degrees Celsius. Makes sense based on what we did in number 4. Okay, so there's one more here. If you want to pause the video and give it a shot, just make sure you can use a formula. And that's it for today. Okay, so we're looking for temperature in Fahrenheit. And that is 40 degrees Celsius. What does that look like in Fahrenheit? So Fahrenheit is going to equal 9/5 times this temperature in Celsius and then plus 32 degrees. So we have 9/5 multiplied by 40, and then we're adding 32, so 104 degrees. That is 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So maybe a kind of a typical day here in the summer. 104 degrees Fahrenheit would be 40 degrees Celsius somewhere else. Okay? Pretty simple, 2 formulas. Hopefully the homework isn't too bad. It's really just using these 2 formulas. The only thing you gotta make sure you're doing is you're using the correct formula, and make sure you're putting the parentheses in the one where it belongs and not in the other, right? The minus 32 has to happen before the multiplication in our Celsius formula, and the plus 32 has to happen after the multiplication in our Fahrenheit formula.